Podcasting is more than just talking. It's listening. BSing with Bob Schmidt.
I publish my personal podcast every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Central Time on bswithbobpodcast.com. And since the published date for this week is on the 4th of July, I thought I'd try something a little different. I want to celebrate freedom. You know, I'm not much of a job jumper. In fact, in the last 26 years that I've lived in La Crosse, Wisconsin, I've worked for 4 different companies, the longest for 15 and a half years. The reason I bring this up is the place I was just laid off from employed me for 9 years. And the radio station that I anchored every morning was switched from adult standards to talk radio 6 years ago Sunday. I've said it many times in my life, and I'm sure you've heard it many times as well, that if you find a job that you love doing, it's not like you're working. And I still believe that today. But unfortunately, things change. I am, however, now free to be more independent, more so than when I was working for someone else. For many years, I was up at 4 a.m., and I'm not going to lie, that's the middle of the night, and sometimes it sucked. But getting home for lunch most days was fantastic. When I started my adventures in radio more than 30 years ago, my goal was to entertain. When I got into talk radio 20 years ago, I added educate and inspire. That was my goal for each show. And I'm going to continue with that pledge to myself and to you, my podcast listener. For those of you that have chosen to take this ride with me, thank you, and I hope that the future is even smoother sailing than in the past. Have you ever thought of the old saying, as American as baseball, Cracker Jacks, and apple pie? The 4th of July is a day to celebrate the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That's the document that gave us the freedoms and equalities by declaring that all men are created equal. Well, equality if you're just like the guys that signed it. I think we have a long way to go for total equality, but we're striving for it as a nation, I believe. I wondered this morning as I wrote this, what's the most iconic American brand? That brand is Jeep. Jeep is the #1 brand that pops into the heads of many Americans as patriotic. Kind of weird since it's owned by Fiat, a foreign company. I'm guessing that on the 4th of July, you'll be washing down your brats, hot dogs, and burgers with an ice cold beer. And guess what? The top 3 beer brands, Bud Light, Coors Light, and Miller Lite, are all owned by companies based outside the United States. Which brings us back to Cracker Jacks. They're still owned by an American company. God bless America, the land that I love. We're blessed to live in a great country, a country that lets us be who we want to be, and a country that gives us the freedom to stand up for what we believe in. A country that offers opportunity and equal rights. America, the freest nation on the earth. Let's all enjoy each other's company, not only on holidays or family get-togethers, but always. Know that Americans are free and that we're independent, and that we can do what you put your mind to. Know that people are on your side, and that success is going to come. It just may take a little more time than you were hoping. Keep at it. Next week, back to regular podcasts focusing on entrepreneurship, business, and marketing. This week, just a piece of me being independent. If your business is looking for your independence or your voice, contact me, if you will. bswithbob@gmail.com. The BSing with Bob Schmidt podcast is brought to you by Orange Computer. Find them online at orangecomputerlax.com.
This has been another podcastforhire.com production.